I am the product of parents who learned to fall asleep to the sounds of bombs exploding, who are grateful to have a second shirt, and who are thankful to have a meal on any given day. This is their story, the story of two children who grew up in the northern countrysides during the Vietnam War. Their struggles and their hardships inform how I view and approach the world today. They took great risk and made enormous sacrifices, and that has given me the opportunity to be here and to share with you what I've learned along the way. This is my story. My name is Elizabeth Trinh, and I'm a researcher, a social scientist, who studies how people form and sustain meaningful connections. My parents and I immigrated to the United States just short of my very first birthday. In fact, my father calls it his first birthday gift to me. When we arrived to the United States, we moved into a small and rural town in Georgia called Waynesboro. Population, 5,500 people. All we had were the shirts on our backs and $200 in our pockets. That was it. But we had the utmost hope for our futures here. Early on, my parents recognized that I would need mentors to navigate this new and foreign place. We didn't know a single soul, nor did we know the culture or the language. And so, being mentorless was not an option. My parents encouraged that I look for people who could guide me and give me instructions in ways that they couldn't. And they taught me that I had the power and the agency to seek these people out. In doing so, my parents were my original mentors. So today, I'm standing here in front of you to share my decades of experience seeking mentors. And I want to offer you 4 lessons to help you with your journey. This is my 21st century guide to mentorship. So, to begin, one of the most impactful people during my childhood was my pediatrician, Dr. Griffin. Now, Dr. Griffin knew of the struggles that my family had faced immigrating to the United States. And he saw in me something I didn't see in myself. That, like my parents, I had the grit and the resilience to overcome any hardships that would eventually come my way. And with that in mind, he sat me down and helped me establish my first career goal, one that would require hard work. And that was to be a doctor. Now, I didn't end up pursuing the medical route, but I will be receiving a PhD in a couple of years. And I wouldn't be able to do it without Dr. Griffin. Another really impactful person during my childhood was my piano teacher, Miss Janice. Her husband died fighting in the Vietnam War, but she didn't view us as enemies. She would say to us that we were gifts from God, sent here on purpose. My parents didn't have much financial resources as I was growing up, and in exchange for them doing Miss Janice's nails, she would offer us piano lessons. And though I was never musically inclined, she would sit patiently next to me, teaching me scales over and over and over again. And from Miss Janice, I learned persistence, to keep going even when you're not so good at something. So my first lesson to you today comes from having a pediatrician and a piano teacher as my childhood mentors, both of whom are from this agrarian town in Georgia, both of whom have very different experiences from me, and both of whom I didn't necessarily conceptualize as mentors at the time. My first lesson, cast widely. Mentors come in all forms, and so be open to different individuals as well as ideas. There's this mistaken notion that people have of what a mentor is. This one single person who is supposed to give us all the answers. And that grandiose idea of what a mentor is supposed to do holds people back from the mentorship they could be receiving. But mentors come in so many sizes and shapes. And you may find mentors where you least expect it, both in person and online. Mentors also don't have to be older than you. They can be your age or younger. My little brother, my boyfriend, and some of my best friends have offered me so much wisdom over the years. And I continue to learn from my amazing students each and every day. Mentorship is everywhere if you give yourself that opportunity. So keep your eyes open and cast widely. Fast forward a couple of years, I was accepted into a dream university of mine, Stanford University, much in part due to the mentorship I received from my family, from my local community members, and from my childhood school grade teachers. But again, I was moving to this new and foreign place where I didn't know a single soul, nor did I know the culture. Luckily, this time I knew the language. But I felt really scared and nervous. So I made it a priority to look for people who would guide me during my time there. And I found amazing mentors. Professor Mark Duggan is an economist, and he was my undergraduate major advisor. And Professor Woody Powell is a sociologist, and he was my master's advisor. From them, I learned the second lesson I want to offer you today. Say yes, because you never know when your next learnings are right around the corner. We all know that we learn from big, grand tasks, but sometimes doing pedestrian things that mentors give you, things that you may perceive to be dull or monotonous, can be quite valuable. For example, during my junior year, I decided to switch from being pre-med to pursuing business research. And so I was working on a project with Mark where I was inserting thousands of numbers into Excel spreadsheets. I truly thought it was quite boring, and I didn't understand the significance of it. But what I didn't know was that Mark was predicting my future in a way that I couldn't. And that task he gave me served to help me later on during my doctoral coursework. I had a similar experience with Woody where I was assigned to call hundreds of nonprofit leaders. And these are really busy people doing charitable things for society. And I was asked to ask these people to give me an hour or 2 or 3 of their time for free. So I spent so many hours trying to get other people to say yes to my requests. And that has set me apart as a doctoral student. I can now communicate with and establish collaborations with executives, something I wouldn't be able to do without this assignment and without the encouragement of Woody. You can learn from both the big and the small things. And I truly believe that in order to be mentored, you have to demonstrate your desire, not only through your words, but through your actions. And once you illustrate that, mentors will reciprocate. So say yes. The third lesson I want to offer you today is give to get. This comes from one of the greatest paradoxes of life. In order to receive, we must first give. For me, this lesson comes from observing my parents give gifts to people who have helped us on our journey. Every year, even to this day, they'll travel across the state of Georgia to and from Vietnam and show up unannounced to the doorsteps of people with gifts. I've followed their lead. Even though for me, giving entails physical and actual presence, you don't have to give gifts. I've learned that sharing can be really treasured as well. It may be hard for you to believe because I'm here sharing my story, but I typically don't talk about myself much. But I've learned from amazing mentors both here at the University of Michigan and also back at Stanford University, that you can give your time, your energy, your presence, dedication, and even information about yourself. Who you are, what your dreams are, why they matter so much. Giving, both the tangible and the intangible, prompts you to follow up and consistently be in contact with your advisors. It's a little reminder that says, "Hi, I'm here. I appreciate you, and I still have so much left to learn." So give to get. The final and fourth lesson I want to offer you today comes from a rather recent learning experience of mine. Professor Sue Ashford and Professor Derek Harmon were my official advisors during my first 2 years here at Michigan. And they joined forces to help me with my big research project. From them, I learned, look within. Mentors don't necessarily have all the answers for you, but they can help you find or create your answers. And some, the truly special ones, can even help you discover the questions you didn't know you were searching for. I remember during my first 2 years here, there were a couple of times this happened, and I was working on my big research problem. And then I would go to the offices of Sue and Derek, wanting them to give me the answer, begging them for the answer. And I would look them in the eyes, and they would say back to me, "I don't know." And in a way, that has prompted me to be a more independent and critical scholar and an overall better thinker because of that. Mentorship is important and it matters. But not one individual is going to give you everything all prepackaged with a bow on top. This is your story. And each mentor, each person can contribute to it. But you're the ones putting it together in a mentorship mosaic that is unique to you. Growing up in Waynesboro, I spent a lot of time in the public library there. And I read countless books. And I noticed a theme that transcends cultures and time. And that theme is protagonists must fight their own battles. That story plays out in real life. You have to fight your own fights eventually. Mentors cannot do that for you. But they can help you prepare for your war. Eventually, you have to look within. My parents were my original mentors, and they formed this foundation that has helped me look for other people who have shepherded me and guided me along the way. This is my journey, and I'm still on it. Today, I've offered you 4 lessons. Cast widely, say yes, give to get, and look within. And I've titled this talk, The 21st Century Guide to Mentorship, because, well, we are in the 21st century, but you'll notice that each of these lessons is indeed timeless. And I know I've shared mostly academic advisors from a university setting, but yours don't have to be. You can find mentors in your family, in your job or company, or in your church or local community. Mentorship is an active process, and you must take initiative. You can't just sit back and wait for someone to show up. Chances are, there are already people around you who are willing and eager to mentor you. You are all on journeys of growth and development, and I do truly know that sometimes you may feel as if you're alone or that you're doing it by yourself. But you aren't, and you don't have to be. Mentorship matters, and it's everywhere. But it is up to you. You have the power and the agency to seek out mentors. Thank you.